Celebrate your love of crochet with a bold and modern wall hanging. If you love crochet as much as I do, then you're going to love making this fun wall hanging featuring the words hooked on crochet and a lovely little crochet hook. This is a really easy project to make. It doesn't take very long. I've made two versions of this project using different yarn. So this first one I used Maya Catania, which is 100% cotton, but unfortunately it's discontinued now. But there's loads of different options and you can use yarn from your stash for this. This is a really great stash buster. You don't actually need very much yarn, around 200 yards of colour A and 100 yards of colour B for your wall hanger, so that's not very much. So you might have stuff in your stash which will work for this. Now today I'm going to make a different version using Paintbox Yarns Cotton Aran, which is beautiful, and I'm going to use these two colours. I've got a grey and yellow living room, so I thought this would be really nice. So I've got slate grey and mustard yellow for this project. Now they are category 4 weight yarn and you get 50 grams with 93 yards and 85 meters. So you will also need a crochet hook. So for the sport weight I used a 3mm hook. For this one I'm going to use a 5mm hook. The hook recommended on the ball band is 4.5, so I'd go a little bit bigger than that because we're going to be using the waistcoat stitch, which creates this knit-like effect, but it is quite tight, so you do need to go a little bit bigger hook and try to keep your stitches nice and loose. Then you also need tapestry needle, scissors and stitch marker, and you may need some extras to hang it on the wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick some card on the back of it and then add a hanger using yarn. I'll do a chain, long chain to hang it from, but you could also frame it in a pitch frame or use it as a placemat. I think that's pretty cool as well. Make a set of 4 for everyone. They'd make lovely placemats. This sport weight one comes out as 9 inches by 11.5 inches. We'll see what the worsted weight one comes out like as we make it now, but it doesn't really matter what size you make, and your gauge will differ depending what yarn you use. If you're choosing a different weight of yarn, obviously it will be a completely different size, and tension doesn't really matter. It's not essential anyway. All that you need to make sure is that it's quite a dense fabric so that the letters stand out, but not tight enough that you can't get the hook through. Apart from that, I think we are good to go. So I'm using the yellow for the background colour, which is yarn A, and I'm using the grey for the lettering, which is yarn B. And we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook and a row of chains. So we want to do 61 chains. Okay, this pattern is going to be in this tutorial, should I say, it's going to be in US terms. The pattern is available in both US and UK terms, and you can get that in my Etsy store or my Ravelry shop. Alternatively, you can view the pattern for free on my blog, and that will be in US terms. Okay, so we don't want to make this chain too loose because the waistcoat stitch is quite tight. So if we make the chain too loose, then it tends to kind of bag out a little bit. But just make it like a normal size chain and continue across doing until you've got 61. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to tell you. There is a chart for the pattern included in the PDF. It's not on the blog, but it is in the PDF. So if you prefer working from a chart, which I definitely do, and it's kind of easier for this pattern definitely, then go and find that. All the links are in the description below anyway. with lots more information, and there's links to some yarn alternatives as well that you might like to have a look at. So that's my 61 chain. So now we are going to do a single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, second chain from the hook, and in each chain across. Now I like to work in the back bumps, but you don't have to, and actually for this project it doesn't really matter what you work in. I'm just trying to look what I did for the other one, but I can't actually remember. So if you want to work in the back bumps like I do, you just turn your chain over and find that back bump and work in there with a single crochet. And then we're just going to carry on all the way across, so you've got 60 single crochets. So I've gone across now with single crochet, and then we're on to our second row, which is where we start the waistcoat stitch. And I'm going to show you how to do the waistcoat stitch, and then I am going to also show you how to change colour, but I'm not going to work every single row with you because they're all different and they've all got the different colour changes in them. But once you've got the technique, then they're all pretty similar, and you can just carry on and go across yourself. So then we'll go away and make the main wall hanging, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to do the border. Okay, so for row 2 we are chaining 1 with single crochet in the first stitch. So we always single crochet in the first stitch and the last stitch, and then we're moving on to waistcoat stitch. Okay, so to do waistcoat stitch, rather than working into the top of the stitch like we normally do through those 2 bars there, instead we are going to be working into here. Let me just find my needle and I'll poke with that so that you can see. So we're going in there, so we're under this bar and we're going between the 2 legs of the V. Okay, so that's where we're going to be working. Now it can be tricky to do, and sometimes you need to almost look to the other side. So the other side, it's going to come out there between the V. Okay, so it can be tricky and it can be hard to get in there, but you can use the point of your hook or just push it through like that and look the other side to see where it's going to come out. Oops. Okay, so that's through. Then you yarn over and pull through. Make sure you put it up to the height of the row, otherwise it gets really tight. Okay, and you can see there already that it's a much lower down stitch and keeps all the stitches in line. Okay, so we do again, and it's actually the hardest on the first row because you're working into single crochets rather than working into waistcoat stitch itself. But what we're going to do is we're going to carry on across, and then we're going to work row 3 and 4 in exactly the same way. But I will show you what that looks like when we get to row 3, because we're not working into single crochet anymore, we're working into the waistcoat stitch from the row before. Okay, so just carry on doing this, working into that space, pulling up the stitch to the full height, and then I will see you at the end of this row. So at the end of row 2, you'll see I've got just 1 stitch left. Now it can be a bit complicated because it looks like there's almost 2 stitches, but if you look at the top, there's only 1 V left. So you've got 1 stitch left, and we just do a normal single crochet in that last stitch. Okay, and then we're going to turn, and you can now see that these V's look a lot more pronounced and a lot easier to get into. So chain 1, normal single crochet in that first stitch, and then we're going to carry on doing our waistcoat stitch. So into that V as we did before, push it through, yarn over and pull up to the height of the row and continue like that across. So if you just continue that for row 3 and 4, and then I will rejoin you for row 5 where we are going to be starting the colour changes. I have now completed my 4 rows to start my wall hanging, and we're moving on to row 5. So we chain 1, we do a single crochet in that first stitch, just a normal single crochet, and then we're going to start doing our waistcoat stitch, and we're going to work 16 waistcoat stitches before we change colour. Okay, so we're just going to work along as we've done for the first 4 rows, going into the middle of the V and working 16 of them. Now when you've done 15, come back to the video and I will show you how we're going to change colour on that 16th stitch. Okay, so this is my 15th stitch. I'm going to start my 16th one because we're doing 16 yellow stitches in yarn A. Okay, and I'm going to stop at that point. Now, row 5, odd numbers are wrong side rows. So row 5 is a wrong side row. So we're going to want to carry our yarn on the front, because we always want to carry our yarn on the wrong side of our work. Okay, so we're going to bring that to the front. We're going to grab our yarn B, which for me is the grey, and drape that over our hook, and then we're just going to pull that through the stitch to finish the stitch. Okay, and we're going to keep this end on our wrong side as well, and that's going to carry along on our wrong side. Okay, now this can be a bit fiddly if you've not done it before, but you will get used to it quite quickly. Okay, so next we're going to do 29 waistcoat stitch in B. Okay, so we're going to enclose this yellow and carry it along with us as we do these 29 stitches. Okay, just like this. So you work the stitch, keeping them nice and loose, and you just carry those along inside, and they will get trapped inside. And then when we need the yellow in, or the yarn A in a few more stitches, then it will be there ready for us. Okay, so carry on doing that until you've done 28, and then the 29th one will change colour again. Okay, so that's 28, and this is the 29th stitch. We stop at that point, and then we're going to make sure this yarn is on the wrong side, and we're going to put up yarn A where we left it, and we're going to pull that through to complete the stitch. Okay, and then we're going to carry on with our yarn A. So we've got 13 more waistcoat stitches to do on this row, followed by a single crochet in the very last stitch. And we're going to leave this here, the grey here, because on the next row, row 6, we do 13 waistcoat stitches in yarn A first, and then we pick up the grey again, the yarn B here. So we're going to leave it here, and it will be here ready and waiting when we get back to it. And we're leaving it on the wrong side, which is where we need to leave everything. So you have to remember when you're working that your right side rows are your even rows, and your wrong side rows are your odd rows. Oops, what have I done there? Not concentrating, and I'm doing a double crochet. Okay, so just carry on doing a waistcoat stitch to the end of the row, remembering to do just a normal single crochet in the very last stitch, and then you can turn and I will see you there. So I've turned my work now, and you can see this is the front with our grey in the middle. That's going to be the crochet hook. So we are going to now carry on to row 6, an even row, which is a right side row. So we chain 1 and we do single crochet in that first stitch, and then we carry on with our waistcoat stitch. So row 6 starts with 13 waistcoat stitch, which is going to take us back up to where we finished with the grey with the yarn B, and then we're going to change, and I'm just going to do this row with you, but after that it's pretty much all the same, just changing colour on the last yarn over of the previous stitch, and making sure that you keep your carry your yarn on the wrong side of the work the whole time, which changes obviously every time you turn your work. This is now my 13th stitch, so I'm going to work the first part of the stitch as so, and then look behind. Oh yeah, there's yarn B ready and waiting, and just make sure they don't get tangled. So pull it up like this. You're going to enclose your yarn A in the back now, this being the back, because we are going to need it again for the end of this row. So it's always worth to keep looking ahead where you've got to and what you're doing, so that you can continue. Now, where we changed colour last row, the next row always looks slightly odd, but just look for where that V is, even if the V is in a different colour, and you will be completely fine. Okay, so this is our V, and we've got a bit of a bunch here because this is where we, oh gosh, it's gone all blurry, where we push through, where we joined the yarn before, but it's all fine. So then we're going to carry on for row 6. We've got 29 waistcoat stitches in this what colour is it? Yarn B. So just carry on working that across and enclosing your yarn A in the back of the work. Okay. This is my 29th stitch in the yarn B now, so I'm just going to pull that up, and I'm going to swap back over to the yarn A, and I'm just going to leave the yarn B there again whilst I finish off this row. As you can see, this is another funny looking stitch, but you just look where the V should be, and you just see that you're missing one leg of it where you've gone through and changed colour, so you can just pull through like so and then continue. So we've got 16 of these to do, and then a single crochet to finish, and that is it really, guys. It's just all about following the chart or following the pattern now, changing colour on the last yarn over, a single crochet in the first and the last stitches, and waistcoat stitch throughout the rest. So I am going to leave you now to complete the rest of your wall hanging, and then we'll come back and we'll do the border together. So just keep working through. I know waistcoat stitch can be tricky on the hands, so just take your time and enjoy the process. If you miss a change or change colour in the wrong place, you can frog it, or you can make it work for you. As long as it spells the word, you're still all good, aren't you? The odd stitch out of place doesn't matter. So let's get going, shall we? see you when you get to the top. And there we have it. I finished doing all of my waistcoat stitch now, and we are ready to move on to the border. Now don't worry if it's slightly misshapen. Obviously the camera makes it look like it's that shape, but it will even out when you block it. So let's move on to the border. Now you're going to join your yarn bee where you finished off, which should be in here. If you did the same number of rows as I did. Obviously if you did different. We're going to be right side facing now, so you want the words to be the right way around. Just chain one once you've joined your yarn, and all we're going to do is a simple single crochet border. So we're just going to make a single crochet in each stitch across, and then when we get to the corner, we are going to, ooh, that was a slip stitch. When we get to the corner, we're going to chain one. So when we get here, we're going to chain one, and then we're going to turn, and we're going to work into the row ends. So you'll work one single crochet into each of these row ends, okay? Now that can be a bit fiddly to get into, but just work around whichever stitch or post that you can work. And just work all the way down, chain one at the corner, and then work across your foundation row, working into each of those stitches. Again, chain one at the corner and work back up. When you get to the top, you're going to do a slip stitch to join into that first stitch. Then we're going to chain one, and we're going to do a second round. Now for the second round, you're going to do single crochet into every stitch. When you get to your chain one corner, you're going to make a single crochet, a chain one, and a single crochet all into that same chain one space. Okay, and all the way around, slip stitch to join at the end, and then we are finished. And here is the finished article. So I've now finished my border, I've blocked my wall hanging, and I have so I've stuck it onto some cardboard on the back, just plain cardboard. When you're doing that, make sure you don't stretch it too much. Try and get the edges nice and level. And then I added a hanger, so this is just a chain. So I just made a chain about the length that I wanted it to be and sewed it onto the top, and that is going to hang my wall hanging up. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe and check out my other videos. I've got lots of fun patterns that you can check out, and tutorials too. I'm Gemma from Concrete Gems Crochet. Bye for now.